Welcome back. Well, today I am joined by Dr. Deborah Garrett, who is here on behalf of Kaiser Permanente, Orange County. Well, Dr. Garrett, thank you for joining us today.
Well, I'm honored and happy to be here.
Well, we have had some discussions off camera about various things that have been affecting people across the country. Of course, it's COVID, and we've also got heart disease and a variety of other things, but we've kind of forgotten about influenza. And so I'm really glad that you're here to share with us some important numbers and some important things to remind us that influenza has not gone away.
No, and we are in flu season, as many people may have heard if they've gone to their physician's office recently. So influenza is real and flu vaccines are here. And what we kind of have lost track of, because we've been so focused on COVID prevention and COVID vaccines, is that flu vaccine saves lives. And flu vaccines are so important for anyone really over the age of 2.
Yeah. Well, I've always gotten my flu shot on a regular basis. In fact, Kaiser Permanente gave me mine 2 years ago on camera.
Perfect.
So that was awesome. But, it is something that you have to consider, and you have to make an effort to go in and get it. So other than, the things that you've mentioned, give me an example of people who should be super concerned about getting the vaccine.
Well, certainly anyone should be getting the flu vaccine. So anyone over the age of 2, kids can get it as young as 6 months, but in particular, anyone with any underlying medical conditions. Remember, the flu will take advantage of those whose immune system may be compromised from another disease process, whether it be heart disease, whether it be in an underlying immunocompromised position, and if they get COVID. So protecting each other, our families, our communities, against the flu is super important. For those over 65 in particular, we really want to make sure that you have access to the flu vaccine. And there's even a special vaccine for those over 65, because our immune systems as we age are not quite as efficient in building up those defenses. And so the high dose flu vaccine, called Fluzone, if anyone would like to name it, it actually has 4 times the amount of flu antigen, or the product that provokes your body to make the defenses.
Okay. Now, should somebody take into consideration that higher dose? Would they feel any different than if they got the regular dose?
Usually not at all. Not at all.
Okay.
And, any vaccine is a good vaccine. All of the flu vaccines here in the United States this year are what are called quadrivalent. They have 4 different types, or 4 different members of the flu family in them. Remember, every year, the flu vaccine varies because there are different flu viruses out in our communities. And we kind of look at the data from Australia, and they formulate what they think is going to be the flu members that we need to protect ourselves against. So this year, just like every other year, we have 4, but unlike other years, all of the vaccines have 4 different members in them this year.
Okay. Well, it's kind of like if you looked at the flu vaccine, then you look at the COVID-19 vaccine, we have different variants of the COVID-19. So it's kind of similar in nature, but we're just kind of now catching up with COVID-19 variants, right?
Correct. And, and sometimes we get it right or closer than other times. We have some years where, unfortunately, we have a really bad flu season because the protective flu antigens were not quite the same ones we actually ended up seeing. However, if you get the flu vaccine, and let's say we have a year with an unusual variant of the flu that becomes more popular, so to speak, you still will have cross protection. You will not get as sick as someone who did not get vaccinated. So I know a lot of people like to use the excuse, well, how do you even know, if you're picking the right flu members to put in that vaccine? They're very good at this, by the way. And we get a cross protection. So it's important to get the vaccine.
Okay. All right, good. Now, moving on to prevention. Now, I know that over the course of the last 18 months, influenza numbers have decreased, primarily because we've been taking a lot of precautions that we should be doing anyway. So maybe remind us some of those precautions to help us to get influenza, as well as preventing getting COVID-19.
Yeah, and lots of other things for that matter. So good hand washing. In the last 18 months, what we've seen is the use of social distancing and masking has contributed to a very, very low incidence of influenza. But what I want to actually remind people is that in the 2019-2020 flu season, we still had up to 62,000 deaths from influenza. Yeah, the numbers vary because it depends what gets put on the certificate, but somewhere between 24 and 62,000 is what the CDC reported.
Wow.
So this is something we still do see. This is something we still need to protect ourselves. So good hand washing, masking, social distancing certainly makes a difference, but above and beyond, vaccination. That's how we protect each other and ourselves.
Right. One thing that's kind of interesting is I know early on when they found COVID, they were really worried about transferring from touch, right? But influenza does transfer through touch, doesn't it?
Well, it can. And again, if you're touching, you're probably in close proximity to others. The other interesting thing that we know is that probably 20 to 30% of the people that actually have influenza in their body, they have no symptoms. So they're passing it, and they aren't sick. They don't think they're sick, and they still can get us sick.
Wow.
Or one of our family members. So again, employing all these measures is so important.
Viruses are here to stay, I think.
Yes.
They are not going away anytime soon. When it comes to the flu vaccine, is there any particular myths that we should be aware of?
Well, I think there are several. First of all, everyone loves to say, I get sick from the flu vaccine. Yeah, I'm not going to get it. Now, here's the reality on that. First of all, there is no active virus in the flu vaccines that you get with shots. The only vaccine that has any live flu virus is the flu mist, which is only for people between age 2 and 49. Okay. But all of the shots, it's an inactivated virus.
Okay.
So what you do probably see, and just like we learned a little bit more about this, and I think people are more knowledgeable now that they've been going through COVID vaccinations, is what happens is your body is making a defense system, building an army. And that can come with some mild symptoms for 24 to 48 hours. Okay. Maybe just a little sluggish, maybe a mild rash, maybe a mild headache, but nothing that should keep you down, and certainly nothing that should make you sick. Okay. So that's one of the most common myths that I hear in my office. Okay. A lot of times I hear, well, I'm healthy. I don't need to get the flu vaccine. I've never gotten the flu. Mm-hmm. Well, as we talked about, you just were one of the lucky people that didn't get sick, but you still were passing it to people you love, people in your community. Mm-hmm. So we need to think about others as well. And healthy people do need it. And, you're healthy until you're not.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Right?
Now, what about getting the flu vaccine and the COVID vaccine at the same time?
Great question. We get asked this all the time. You absolutely can get both, just different sites. So one in each arm. Okay. And we do them together at Kaiser Permanente. We have advocated at our flu vaccination sites, if someone is up for their COVID vaccine, or perhaps even their booster, or their third dose, if they met those qualifications, they can do both at the same time.
Okay, good to know.
There's no contraindication to that.
Okay, although they might have two sore arms.
Correct. It wouldn't be a good day to play tennis.
Probably not. Well, thank you so much for the information. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
All right, we'll see you again. Thank you. And we'll be right back after this.